Now, I really like doing these schedule prediction videos, 2 or 3 a year, and now we are closing in quickly on the schedule, hopefully being released soon. So with it, I want to give you my final schedule predictions and how I think that maybe it might not be this year that sees as many massive changes, even with the ones we have. So let's jump into it. We're going to cut it up by the Cup portions of the season and the corresponding Xfinity truck races with it. Now, for the Fox portion of the year, I think it's really interesting. Bowman Gray, the duels, and Daytona have all been confirmed thus far, and I do think that a lot of things will probably stay the same, from Atlanta, COTA, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. I also think Darlington will probably be moved up a little bit, and Martinsville will be before the Easter bye week, in which Rockingham will have the Xfinity and Truck Series. From there, though, I think everything after Easter gets a little bit different, or at least shuffles a bit. I think Richmond gets moved up to at least early to mid-April, as they do need some, one, close to the hub races early in the year, and two, I think they also need races that'll be in warm weather areas. Talladega gets moved up a week when it comes to the date, and then I think Dover gets moved back to its late April, early May date that it had for a couple years at the end of the 2010s and into the 2020s. Just because there's going to be a lot of shuffling, and I do think that this is one of the few viable ones that they can just move anywhere they want. Texas and Kansas follow it up, and then after that, we do the All-Star race. Now, because of the moves we'll talk about later with North Wilkesboro, I think that the All-Star race for a year goes back to the traditional track, Charlotte. And it either can be on its own or maybe have a truck race with it. I think that this is probably just a stopgap for a year, but 2026 already has the finale back at Homestead confirmed, as well as a couple of other dates from past schedules put back, so I wouldn't be surprised if we have this happen. Though, it will be interesting to see what they do if North Wilkesboro can't be a point state. With Prime, we already have 2 of the dates confirmed. The Coke 600 as well as San Diego. I think in the middle is Nashville, Michigan, and Pocono, just like last year. Now, I'll break down the Xfinity and truck stuff in a little bit, but I do think there could be a few little changes here and some noticeable added parts. But when it comes to the Prime portion of the schedule, I think what they have is pretty solid at this point. The TNT side of the season, I think, needs a bit of shuffling, and I think it's going to get it. Starting out, I think Sonoma will be moved to the first race of this portion of the schedule. It makes it easier. There's been rumors of all 3 series being out there for this race, and all 3 series will be out in San Diego, which is roughly about a 500-mile drive away from Sonoma. So completely different areas and markets, but also on the same side of the country. It just, I think, logistically makes it easier. Chicagoland has all but been confirmed to be July 5th weekend. So again, I think that that one is pretty safe there. And I think they'll move Atlanta to the third and middle race of this 5-race stretch. It just makes sense to put it here, and also when you add on to the fact that they're really pushing the in-season tournament, they lost way too many stories early on in it because of the big wreck, and I don't think they want to risk having that return again. They want the in-season tournament to be a big deal and something they can market. As much as I love the Ty Dillon mania, it really wasn't all that much of a mania. And then North Wilkesboro, I think, goes to July. Dale Earnhardt Jr. talked about this being a possibility, and I have heard from multiple different sources that Wilkesboro is getting a point state, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is when it is, and I also wouldn't be surprised if this is also when maybe they move the Xfinity race to Portland in the middle of the summer. Keep them out for at least a little bit to go back to the West Coast. And then, of course, ending off on the Brickyard before the final bye week of the season for Cup, where I do think that the 2 lower series will go to Montreal, probably for a Saturday and Sunday doubleheader up there. It's been reported by local Montreal media that this is supposed to happen in 2026 before a 2027 Cup date happens. So, in holding with those reports, I think this is the way they go. NBC closes out the last 14 races of the season, and I think that coming back from the bye, we're going to have races at Watkins Glen and New Hampshire to stay on the East Coast, before either a Saturday or Sunday night could be interchangeable race at Iowa. I don't think the daytime race really works all that much. It's going to be really hot, and I do think that Iowa can stay on the schedule at least one more year as it is now, as I don't think we're getting that Montreal Cup date that, let's be honest, this date was put in for as a standby. Daytona then closes out with the last Saturday of August, the regular season. The first round stays the same as 2025, Darlington, Gateway, and Bristol. There's some shuffling in the second and third, though. The second round, I think, goes to Kansas. Martinsville, I think, goes into the middle, as I think that there's going to be some movement with the West Coast and also some of those finale rotation tracks into the final round. And the Roval stays for another year. Sounds like Marcus Smith really, really loves it. And let's be honest, this was a huge date when it came to innovation a while ago, and I think it stays one more year. I think Talladega this time will open up the final round before the finale, followed by a sort of mini West Coast swing to Las Vegas and Phoenix to close out the round of 8. And Homestead has been confirmed as the finale. So I also want to give a little bit of my method when it comes to the lower series schedules. For the most part, it stays, again, the same through about Darlington. I think one Martinsville race being taken away for Xfinity is the right move just because of the chaos that happened last year, and it seemed like there was a lot of push for that. And on top of that as well, I do think that the All-Star race could get the Truck Series before that one and then have just Xfinity and Cup for the 600, but it also could just maybe be a standalone All-Star weekend. Who knows? When it comes to some of the other moves on the schedule with the Xfinity and the Truck Series, I think due to the Truck Series going to Sonoma, we probably lose Lime Rock. I'm not a fan of that. I think those fans showed out and deserve to have a Truck and probably Xfinity Series race. But at the end of the day, SMI and ISC will always win over independently run tracks. Speaking of the Xfinity Series going to different places, I still, again, think that Portland cannot be on the Southern 500 weekend. It just doesn't make sense, one, for them having to drive so far out at that time of year when everyone is so close to home. And two, I think having it in the summer can probably give you better weather out there and maybe in the middle of July give you a better shot of bringing more people in. That's just sort of my theory with it, and it just kind of makes sense on the North Wilkesboro side, as while that is close to home, they also will be, again, at home later and earlier in the season in wider runs of the season. When it comes to the end of the year, though, I think Trucks at Watkins Glen goes away. I just don't see how this one really makes too much sense to be a triple header, and I think that this date really is just a standby for others. And then when it comes to the playoff day, I think that Darlington does get its Xfinity date back on Southern 500 weekend, maybe a triple header Friday through Sunday. And on top of that, I also think that you're going to have a lot of triple headers to end off the year to try and gain that momentum to finish it off. It makes more sense, too, to have the West Coast mini swing at the end rather than, say, go to Las Vegas, then go to Talladega, then go back out to Phoenix. You might as well keep them together, build up a little bit of that momentum, and leave Phoenix on a weekend that it still technically is on right now when it comes to the date, just not where it's at on the number of races on the schedule. Overall, I do think there's going to be a lot of changes next year. I think that there's going to be maybe more in 2027, but I think this season is set up to be the springboard for 27 at the end of the day. So with that, what changes do you want to see in the 2026 schedule, and which ones do you think will actually be made? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to my channel members for your continued support, and until next time, have a good one.